Hello, we are Matt and Misty Hedspeth here in Panama, Central America. Our ministry, Heart's Cry Children's Ministry, focuses on serving the needs of the orphans of Panama by way of doing everything we can to try to get them into suitable families and get them out of the orphanage. We do this by working with the government, trying to change the processes, the laws, everything pertaining to working these children through the system to get them placed into a permanent family environment. We also work with orphanages and volunteers doing programs trying to serve the needs of the children that are just in the orphanage, and also trying to share the gospel anytime we get a chance with these children and just be a part of things, the body of Christ down here, as they reach out to these children and try to facilitate these things. We also are starting now to help families actually adopt or foster children by an agreement we have now with the government to help them with their foster care program. And so, yeah.
What led us down this road to adopt or foster? We were living in Raleigh, North Carolina, just living our life, attending Southbridge, and then the Lord just laid it on our hearts, this need for the orphans around the world. We specifically were having infertility struggles at the time, and just felt the Lord calling us in particular to adopt versus other alternatives that are available. And so what we did was we just booked a trip to Panama thinking we were going to turn in our paperwork to adopt and then go on a little vacation. But the Lord had other plans. In that week that we were here, He showed us, He opened the doors to allow us to go in and visit several of the orphanages, and God just totally broke our hearts for these kids. We started realizing the huge problem in Panama, which is that so many kids are warehoused in orphanages and just never get out because of the extreme bureaucracy that's here. And so, anyway, we sold everything and moved to Panama. And we live here now, and we're working here on this projects that we have going to help the orphans in Panama. But in terms of adopting, we have our wonderful son, Peter. He's 5 years old, and we adopted him from Panama last year. We were not expecting this. It came out of left field for us. We thought the Lord had another child in mind for us, but in fact, she was placed with another family. And so then Peter's file was presented to us, and we just took some time to pray over it and just felt the Lord saying, to me in particular, I felt God tell me, yes, I've chosen you to be his mom. And this is a privilege, and it's something that I'm honoring you with. The reason it was such a difficult decision to come to, or even something that we had to think hard about, is because of Peter's special needs. He's actually HIV positive, and at the time I knew nothing about what that meant. And we just did a lot of research, and we found out about other couples that have adopted children that are HIV positive, and how it is really not as severe of a disease as I had thought it was originally. And definitely it's something that that nowadays the medicine can completely control, and there's no way in a normal family environment that you can get it. So anyway, Peter's our wonderful, precious son. You totally forget about the fact that he has HIV, that he's HIV positive. And, you know, I'm way more concerned about him learning his ABCs right now than anything else. And then now we have this precious little one, Rosemary, that we are in the process of trying to foster in Panama. She, the Lord just brought her to our family, and we feel that he's calling us to foster her and hopefully adopt her in the future. So we'll see how that goes. But right now we're the paperwork is with the judge, and we're waiting on the official okay to be her foster parents.
There's a amazing story about how we came across this little girl. Peter was being watched by a friend of ours one night when there was an evangelist in town, and Misty was taking a group, 42 or 43 different orphans from an orphanage to see this guy speak. So a friend of ours is watching Peter. Her name's Jana, and Peter all of a sudden tells Jana, he says, "Miss Jana, I'm going to have a sister." And Miss Jana said, "Okay." And Peter said, "She's not two, she's a baby, and her name is Juleka." So Jana's writing this stuff down because, she believes, hey, I mean, God can speak through these little ones, and I don't know, we'll see what happens. And so she wrote that down. 2 weeks after this, we get a call from one of our volunteers at Malambo, this orphanage, and this girl called Misty.
1 week.
1 week. And she called Misty and said, "Misty, you've got to come out and see this little girl. She's this little baby girl here, and she has special needs. She really needs to be out of the orphanage into like a foster home or something. I just really feel like you need to come out and see her. Her name is Juleka." And when she said that, we were like, wait a minute, I think that's the same name that Peter said, and of course it was. And it's not a common name. It's not a common Spanish name
I've
in
never
Panama.
heard of it before in my life.
Of course, Peter's never heard of it either. So it ends up, we go out there, and one thing leads to another, and we fall in love with her, of course. And so we really believe, we know that God is the one who's put this thing together for this little girl, Juleka. And we call her Rosemary because later we find out in her file, everyone calls her Juleka, the hospital, the orphanage, every single person that's ever been with her. But we found out deep in her file that her name is actually Rosa Maria, which is Rosemary, and her biological mother put down a fake name at the hospital when she abandoned her there as Juleka, so as the mother's name being Juleka. So everyone just saw the file and saw Juleka and calls her Juleka all the time.
And that's how she was identified at the orphanage, was under the name Juleka.
Right. So anyway, it's just kind of a crazy story. I just wanted to share that with you guys. God has he's so involved in getting these kids into families, and he wants the best for these children so bad. He works miracles. He does everything just to get these kids out of these places and into families, and most importantly, just so that they can meet him. They can meet Jesus. And
we believe strongly that the Lord has a plan for these little children, and he has his chosen ones that he pulls out and he places in his family.
Yep.
And so, if God is laying on your heart to adopt or foster, then I just would encourage you to sit before the Lord and wait on him to speak to you and tell you, because he wants to show you exactly what his plan is, and he has a specific plan for each one of each one of your lives, and also each one of the children's lives. And so he will make it clear. He's made it clear to us with every single child that he's brought to us in such an amazing way, and I know he'll do the same thing for you.
Thank you. One more thing about Rosemary. We have found out just recently, because we have been God-parenting her, meaning that we have not been able to permanently keep her in our home. We only get her for weekends, which is so difficult. But you have to remember that one day out of the orphanage, the institution, is better than having no days out of the orphanage or institution for these children, because it's just so much more beneficial for them, even though it's difficult for families to do things like this. But now we're waiting for the judge to decide her case to be permanently or placed with us as foster parents, and with the hope of later being able to adopt her. But we had just found out that she is almost completely deaf, and she will need hearing aids, possibly cochlear implants, and so she is a special needs child as well, but just wonderful, and we just love her so much. And there's I wanted to mention that only because there's there's a lot of children that are abandoned with special needs. One reason is when the biological mother finds out that there is a special need, well, that's one of the reasons why they abandon them. And the other is just because of just malnutrition, and fetal malnutrition. Uh, they're usually born very premature because of the health of the birth mother and the way the birth mother treats herself during the pregnancy and things like that. So a lot of them suffer the consequences of the the biological mother that they come from. But these children just need families. They need love. They need the type of touch and intimacy that only a family can give. And when that happens, crazy things happen. These children can regain things that the orphanage has just decided they've lost, and things we've seen that are just amazing. So we just encourage you, even with special needs adoption, just to pray about it. Ask God if that's something that He wants to lead you into, and just be open to it is what we ask, because there's so many orphans that are just like little Rosemary right here.
And one other thing that we're working on right now with our ministry, with Heart's Cry Children's Ministry, is the possibility of opening a special needs orphanage. And that's something that we've just been praying about for years, and feel like it's possibly coming together at this time. And we'll be sharing more about that with you guys in the near future.
Yep. Thanks again.